I feel like I was supposed to like this.
You weren't. This sucks. Hello, everyone. My name is Shiloh, and I'm here with my co-host Micah, and we're here to bring you another episode, I believe our 8th one yet, of the New Music Podcast. And today we're going to be looking at some mainstream stuff, some underground stuff, a little bit of everything in between here, like pretty wide variety of things, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's super underground though. Like you've never heard of any of these artists, I guarantee it.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of our first album, which you want to tell them what all of our albums this week are?
Yes, sir. We got Ariana Grande with Eternal Sunshine. It's Sunshine Forever.
Super underground cut.
Yep. Deep cut.
Deep cut.
Small indie project, Judas Priest, their album Invincible Shield, as compared to their last album, Invincible Shield. And then we have gum.mp3, which is like actually underground, I think, right? I've never heard of them at least.
Yeah.
With Black Life, Red Planet. I'll give them a little intro for like the sound. It was like I think it was called jazz step.
Yeah, I believe jungle is another genre tag for it.
A jungle describes it really well, but like it's a little more jazz.
It's kind of a blind spot for me.
I'm like kind of in here. Like I legally have to be with my Aphex Twin tattoo. This would be a fucking poser.
Right. No, for sure.
Which I already am.
It's like a breakbeat subgenre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Bleachers, which I've also never heard of Bleachers, with their album Bleachers.
Yeah, self-titled. Jack Antonoff's solo project. He's a pretty mainstream producer right now.
Yeah, it's indie pop project. That's what the genre tag is.
Indie pop type thing.
And then indie rock.
Singer-songwriter vibes.
Yeah. Black and white album cover vibes.
Oh, that's true, yeah. It really is black and white album cover vibes.
And then we have Fall of Leviathan. I believe this is a Bandcamp cut. Their album In Waves.
I found it on Bandcamp. They are on streaming now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What genre is this? This is like
ambient metal, I think is the best way to describe it. Like there's no vocals, but it is metal music.
All right, we'll talk about that later.
Alrighty. Sounds good. So then our first one this week, as stated before, is Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine. Are going to be kind of cold on this one. How did you feel about this album?
Cold takes.
Okay.
It was all right.
It was all right. I mean, it is
fine.
Really kind of just what I expected. I guess I don't.
It was like, no way. It's an Ariana Grande album. It's
It really is just kind of get what you paid for. Okay. I mean, you click play on an Ariana Grande album in 2024, and it's just gonna pretty much be what you expect.
You will hear this at Target.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, this is gonna be playing in public and stuff. All of it is pretty widely applicable for just about any setting. I don't see anyone getting offended by the sounds of this unless you're the type to just really hate pop music.
Which I would say we are not.
No, we're not. And I don't mind the sound of this thing at all. And I think there's some tracks that I might actually come back to specifically because the catchier moments or the more well fleshed out and vibrant instrumentals did strike me as something really nice on the ears for the most part.
Any tracks you want to point out?
Yeah, I particularly really liked Bye, We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love, and Supernatural. Those ones, I guess especially Supernatural, kind of reminds me of an Ava Max album I liked. Yeah, it must have been early last year, I believe, where it's got this kind of like trance thing going on, like a little bit of like a more dance music type aesthetic thing with it. And a lot of these had that, where there's a little bit more of an atmosphere to dig into and puts you really into the mood as opposed to it just being like a catchy verse chorus structure. I think those ones were pretty interesting. Bye is just kind of the best single song, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it's actually been released as a single. I assume it will be, but it's got that catchy chorus. It has a super likable just general appeal to it. And then with We Can't Be Friends, I thought that was one of the most like vulnerable moments lyrically. She is talking a lot about relationships and stuff here. That's that's what most of your lyrical focus is going to be track to track here, which again is pretty predictable, but I think it was like most well done on an emotional level with that song.
Yeah, Bye was the standout track for this album. I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
It's gonna be playing in like Target and on the radio constantly.
No, yeah, I do predict that we will hear that song, whether we like it or not, a lot in the coming months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it might get really tiring for that reason, which a lot of these pop songs that are kind of in the modern mainstream do. But for now, I like it. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Any standout tracks that really weren't doing it for you?
So, Imperfect for You is one of the biggest standouts on the album, I would say, like just in the way that it sounds very different from the rest of it, but I didn't really dig it either. It introduces a bunch of guitars and stuff on it, and it's got like almost a folk vibe to it going on, very subtly, but it's still there. Like, it's kind of a fun little love song for sure, but I get some corniness from it. And then I think it was actually the lead single, Yes And, I didn't really care for that much, just because the lyrics feel to me like they're really right on the edge of empowering and cringe. It's kind of teetering between the two in a way where I'm like, I could do without it.
Yeah, Yes And was my least favorite track of this album for very similar reasons. I felt like it went a little over the edge and it was just corny.
Yeah, no, it's got corniness to it, and I really don't like the spoken word passage of it. Again, not really for any of her sentiments or what she's specifically saying. Like, I think it had a decent idea. It was just a bit misguided in execution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have specific songs that you want to point out right away?
No, you actually put out the ones I were talking about. Like Yes and Bye were like the two tracks I wanted to mention.
Okay. Yeah, those do feel like specific ones that are kind of like right there and noticeable. A lot of it does kind of fade to the background, but not in a way that I found unenjoyable. Like, you can play this thing front to back and I won't have any issues.
It's a consistent album. I'll give you that.
Yeah, for sure.
I ended up liking it a little less than the average bear. Just because it's not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like if someone's playing it, I'm gonna be like, rather listen to this than nothing.
Right. No, for sure. And I think she could have done a little bit less playing it safe. Like, this is, again, exactly what you've come to expect, and not much more, not much less. So, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I think it's good and sounds good. What did you end up scoring this?
I was gonna see what you end up scoring this.
So I ended up giving this one a 71%. I think it's just decent.
I ended up giving it a 65.
65? Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
again, like, it's not gonna fucking knock your socks off, okay? This isn't something super crazy, but it's pleasant, I think. That's probably a good way to put it. Our next album on the list is Invincible Shield by Judas Priest. First album in 6 years from Judas Priest. Classic rockers, one of the more original metal bands, I guess. Like, I think they were kind of riding in on some of the earliest waves of it. Naturally, I mean, I have to imagine you're probably even more familiar with Judas Priest than I would be, because I kind of just know all the singles.
I grew up in a heavy metal household, I would like to call it.
Okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. So, I mean, like, this is kind of just going to be in your general bag, and I'm still somewhat familiar with Judas Priest in the past. This is somewhat of a comeback for them. Revitalization of their old stuff, I suppose. And that's kind of a trend with a lot of the older metal bands that were pretty popular in the mainstream of the genre, and like kind of just the front and center of thrash or just like hard rock and that sort of thing. What comes to mind immediately is AC/DC coming back for an album a few years back. But unlike a lot of that stuff, I don't think Judas Priest is washed. Okay, I think they're still kind of killing it.
Yeah, no, this album, I wouldn't say fucks, but it talks to women.
This album fucking super fucks, if you ask me. This shit goes hard, man.
Oh,
I just really like it. I mean,
hell yeah.
I just had a lot of fun listening to this, and I will be real in that there's moments that are either corny or just kind of don't hit quite right because they're a little bit slower or anything like that. But like the title track on here, dude, this is some of the most sonically pleasing and just nice on the ears metal music in thrash and power metal that I've heard in a long time. Like I was headbanging along with this shit so hard. Oh my god, it goes kind of nutty at some points for real.
Fuck yeah, dude. Also, I'm looking at my score, and I don't know if saying this album doesn't fuck was necessarily correct. I don't know what albums I have said that fucked, and I don't remember the scores that I've given them. Because I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, well, maybe this album fucked.
It's a little higher on the fuckometer than you thought.
Because I'm looking at the score I gave it, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
does that fuck? I think it's the opener. Like as soon as just the silence and me being like, oh fuck, this is probably gonna be terrible or something. And then I hear the little doo-doo-doos, you know what I mean? Like the little guitar and synthesizer opener, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
god, please don't be corny. And then it's not corny.
Oh no, it's so sick. The intro really captivated me into the experience entirely and made me realize that I'm actually going to like this experience, which is not what I expected at all. My expectations when an old metal band or old rock band comes back are on the floor, but immediately I was like, oh god, why does it sound so sick? This is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's 20 more albums, and I realized, holy shit. I was looking back at all their albums, so I'm pretty sure they're fucking consistent throughout all the albums. No, this is actually one of their better albums.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they had very few mainline albums. Hold on.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18, 19 albums.
Where the fuck were all of these? I didn't see them recently. What the fuck? Okay. Well, the main ones, though, I mean, British Steel is a hit parade. Screaming for Vengeance got some good shit on it. And of course, you got Painkiller. Painkiller's kind of a classic.
Painkiller's fucking hell yeah.
Those are the ones that people remember, and they remember them for good reason, because this band's, back catalog is pretty stellar, and this just kind of matches it in a way that I really wasn't expecting.
Yeah, bro. I'm happy this came out.
Yeah, I am too.
Made the week a lot better for me.
I would totally agree. It was the most fun I had listening to a metal album in quite some time, I think, because a lot of the metal we've covered on here that was good was not exactly fun. It was really dark and brooding type of stuff that was somewhat of an uncomfortable listen. This is just some power metal that fucking slaps, you know what I'm saying? A lot of it's power metal anyways.
Most of it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that they adapted to the modern age, of course.
A little.
But they haven't completely changed up everything, trying to do something completely different and just fucking it up like a lot of older metal bands will do sometimes.
Sometimes that does happen. I feel like that was more kind of what we were seeing in the 2000s and early 2010s was those older kind of classic bands really going for something new. It seems like now they're all kind of on oh, let's just go back to the glory days and just kind of relive all that. And that does feel like what they're doing here in a way, but it's not in a corny way that I felt was just a pale imitation of what they used to do. Yeah.
Take the words out of my mouth. I don't write on my sphincter.
Damn. I'm just glad that it lives up to it. That was not what I went in expecting, but it really delivered, and it's such a fun fucking album. It's just a blast to listen to.
Fuck yeah.
And they have such legitimately great actual musical presentation of everything. Almost every one of these songs has a sick ass guitar solo on it. The vocals are no worse than they ever were. At least I didn't think so.
No, he sounds the same from fucking the 70s, which is insane.
Yeah, right? How do you even maintain it that long?
Let me go listen to fucking Painkiller really quick. This is my first time listening to Painkiller on good headphones.
Yeah, Painkiller is a fucking classic. Kind of insane, even for its time and whatever. It's very reminiscent of an era, but that's one of those songs that you go back and it's holy shit, this is just undeniable. But I don't know if they lived up to their best songs, so to speak, but
I'm just trying to compare the sound, how the vocalists sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Yeah, he sounds extremely similar. Of course, you could tell he aged because
Right.
no fucking way.
Yeah.
34 years later.
This is just a crazy vocal tone to be doing for this long. I really felt like at some point you would have to end up reaching a point where his voice would just not be any good anymore because he would have just kind of fried it over the years. Not the case, fortunately. Still sounds pretty sick.
Oh, I'm looking at like a photo of the band that looks pretty recent. They all look like they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
They didn't they didn't do the classic rock and roll power metal thing of doing a bunch of drugs.
I know specifically that Rob Halford, I have no idea any of the other members whatsoever, but I know specifically he got clean a while back because he was really struggling with all that and looks pretty healthy, sounds pretty healthy. Fuck yeah, dude. Rock on, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Any tracks that you didn't really fuck with on here?
There were low points for sure. I guess it's kind of predictable to say anyways. I didn't really mess with Crown of Horns that much, and I don't want it to sound like that's one I don't like just because it's the religious song on the album where they're talking about their faith and everything. I don't mind that. If you want to write a song about that, that's totally cool. What I didn't like about it is that it sounds like it's that. Like, this really sounds like a Christian metal song. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also my least favorite track. I figured you were gonna say the same track I was gonna say for this one too. What track was it? Devil in Disguise was another one that was like
I kind of like Devil in Disguise.
kind of like it.
I kind of like it. No, it's not one of my favorites or least favorites. I think that it did get in that slightly slower bag a little bit, but I think what they did with it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I will not deny its coolness, but when comparing it to everything else, it still ends up being one of the like lower points on a good album.
Right, for sure. No, I definitely agree. Escape from Reality was another one where, like, I don't mind the sentiment of it or anything like that, genuinely. Like, it is a little bit more of a personal song, too. Feeling the same way as Crown of Horns, where I want to like it a little bit more just because it's kind of predictable not to, since it's somewhat of a departure. But that one, again, took up some slower pacing, a little bit more of, like, an alternative kind of whatever you want to call it sound that's more widely appealing, and that one didn't really hit for me for that reason. And then The Serpent and the King being the second song on this album, I didn't really care for it that much. It kind of felt like a slightly more lackluster version of the sound that they presented on the first track. So I was a little bit iffy on that one too. But I did have it grow on me once I had headphones on. So even that one's pretty good.
I've listened to this album with only headphones, I think. I don't think I ended up taking this one to the car as much as I probably should have. So I didn't really cite that as like a low point. It was kind of like, yeah.
I see. Yeah, I think this one works well while driving and stuff for sure, as any power metal album really would. This is the type of stuff you just put on to jam out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If I ever pull up in a Harley with fucking aviators on and like just blasting music, this is going to be it. So if that happens in the future, this album's why.
True.
True. It makes me want to do that. It gives me fucking badass biker vibes.
No. This album's gonna be played by my mother in her fucking 57 panel van that she's gonna rat rod out.
Oh, that's badass too, honestly.
She's building it to do wheelies.
That's so fucking cool. This has got those vibes though, for sure. It's great. It's great. It's a good time.
Oh yeah.
Which tracks do you specifically like the most?
Panic Attack's my favorite by a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually call it one of my favorites, but like I only do a top 3 usually, and that would probably be 4 for me. It's just one of the many examples of doing that really fast power metal and thrash metal type presentation done super sick and sounding really cool. I know the drums on that track are really great for sure, and that was something I appreciated.
I have a lot of nostalgia towards the drums. The Judas Priest too. Painkiller is one of the albums I used to jump along with as a kid, alongside like System of a Down and Metallica's and Injustice for All.
Oh, nice.
Which isn't their best album necessarily, but we're not talking about Metallica today.
Yeah, no. If we did, we would be talking about a more disappointing album, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard that last one, but like, again, if we are to compare it to their contemporaries, like the last Metallica album was a little bit mediocre, and that's what I'm saying, this trend of old metal bands coming back and just serving up something mediocre, and the way that Judas Priest is just still giving something good anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. My favorite song on the album, I might have said already, ended up being the title track. I think it's just one of the coolest sounding metal songs in the mainstream in such a long time. It just goes so fucking hard, man. Like the chorus on most of the songs across the album go super hard, but that one in particular just fucking rips, man. It's good shit.
Track 3.
I also really like Giants in the Sky, partially for the fact that it's like a tribute to the other rock and metal kind of legends, so to speak, that have passed since the time between when they last made music and now. And I thought that was cool about it. And it's also one of the more dynamic songs. Like, it's got a little bit more going on, and all of it sounds pretty cool. So, gotta give that one a shout out for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. This album is an hour long. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm glad
It's
you
a long
brought that up because that's kind of the only thing I didn't really care for about it is that it's a bit of a patience tester in a way. Like it does just kind of go hard all the way throughout, so it's not going to necessarily drain you entirely, but I got to say, I don't think it really has any business being well over 50 minutes. Most of these songs could have been trimmed down a smidgen and been perfectly fine doing so.
I'm just amazed no one exploded like trying to make this album.
Yeah,
These
no.
guys are 1,000 years old.
Right? No, that's the thing. This is the sort of music that would give an old person a heart attack.
Yeah.
Let alone being made by an old person.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome. Like fuck yeah, guys. That's so cool.
It shows there are some good boomers out there.
Yeah. Something like that. I don't know where exactly they time out in the generational gap, but if we are to use the metaphorical boomer, then fuck yeah, let's roll.
What was your overall score?
I gave this a 75. I think it's just teetering on the edge of an 8 for me. 8 out of 10, I mean.
I also gave it a 75.
Oh shit, we're right on the same page. Yeah, it seems just fair. Like this isn't doing enough that's new to quite give it that like super duper seal of approval, I think. But
yeah,
it's just doing what it wants to do and doing it really well. So I gotta give a lot of props.
I'm looking at album of the year. We have the coldest take on this album.
Oh, is that the user score?
It's 73.
Oh, 73?
Still.
Okay. Yeah, no, we're just slightly above it, which I guess given our backgrounds I would totally expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all we got to say on that one?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Then I guess we can move on to gum.mp3's newest album, Black Life Red Planet. So you were saying before you have a little bit more knowledge on kind of this breakbeat and subgenres around it style. Do you have specific thoughts that you want to give kind of based on having a little bit more intuition for this style, I guess?
This is like the really first like quote unquote jazz step album I've really like delved into.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting concept. I don't know if it's really like, I don't know if it fucks or not though. I'm like kind of like on the fence about it.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
That's really interesting.
It has some cool parts. It feels like a little awkward in some places. I was eating breakfast this morning and I was doing some cooking listening to this, and I was just like, that's a little weird in my headphones.
There's some weird stuff, yeah. I think a lot of it might be intentional because I want to say Blue Period could kind of hit you that way because it's got like these really high-pitched sounds kind of towards the beginning of it, but they also click in a way where it's weird because part of me's annoyed, but it's really scratching my brain just right. I ended up loving that song just because it does really feel a certain way and just kind of scratches a weird itch for me that I didn't know I had.
So I'm going to say something that's going to blow your goddamn mind. Blue Period's like my favorite track on this album.
Oh, same. actually. Yeah, no, Blue Period slaps.
Because the drum and bass opening and the like little doots, I can smell just a smidgen of like a like Flying Lotus type inspiration.
Yeah,
So
no, I'm glad you said that because I was going to say it because that's really my only point of comparison.
it's a really solid one, honestly,
Yeah.
for Blue Period specifically.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of that too. Just kind of in the way vocals are occasionally sampled reminded me of that, and just the drums in general.
The project as a whole, I don't know. I don't think unfinished is the word I want to use, but I feel like more could have been done. Like it just needs like a little bit of pizzazz,
That makes sense.
a little more spice, a little more salt.
That makes sense. Yeah, I
Like,
could see that.
but Blue Period is an example of one of those tracks, though, that's like, yes, you are in the right direction.
Honestly, I can't really say the same for my experience as what you're saying. This just feels like a really great meditative experience to me. This is an album that I can really easily put on and just relax to, like start visualizing things, and it just puts me in a really good headspace, I guess. It feels a lot like the space imagery that is brought up in the titles to me. It really just kind of takes me into space, I guess. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand you.
I would use Believe and Mars and its Moons as examples for that because those ones just really felt like they had a certain atmosphere to them that I guess I wasn't expecting to get into, but I'm really glad that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like the use of certain like raw instrumentation on this. I don't know if it was actually recorded for the album or sampled, but there's some bass and guitars used throughout that I think had a cool vibe to it. Knowingness was almost my favorite song for that reason because it kind of has this like psych rock aesthetic going on with it, which I thought was really cool.
That was not one of the tracks that had a feature.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Because Believe and Compression both have, like, it's gum.mp3 and somebody else, but
Right.
Mars and its Moon says it has a feature, so I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I'm not
Because
either.
there is no lyrics.
No, I think there's sampled voice though, so maybe that's the feature.
Maybe.
Yeah. Either way though, did you like Knowingness?
I did.
Okay.
That was one of the tracks where I was like, there should be a little more here.
Okay. I see. It's not really something that I've heard before, I guess. Like, this is just kind of something new for me. And it did remind me a little bit of, like, Cosmogramma by Flying Lotus, which I actually recently revisited pretty fittingly. So it kind of put me in that same vibe, but there's definitely a lot of differences. And I'm sure anybody more well-versed and cultured in it, electronic and, like, breakbeat and stuff like that in general would kind of say like, oh, that's a pretty weak comparison because I know there's a lot of differences, but that's my best point of comparison for sure.
And I understand coming from there. I actually went through and I listened to Captain Murphy's Duality, which is another Flying Lotus project.
Yeah.
And like then coming back to this, I was in the fucking like headspace for experimental weird shit.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that it's really good in just putting you in that same vibe in general.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on Demos? Track 6.
Track 6? Pull over to that real quick. With like the mariachi guitar in the beginning?
Yeah, it's got like that kind of traditional Latin vibe throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was a track where I wasn't really like too fucking with it.
Me either.
Yeah, I had a really hard time like annotating this album.
It is kind of hard to annotate it just because it does kind of just stay in its own weird little cerebral place. It's weird how atmospheric it gets to be that you just kind of hear all these layers all at once, and there's a lot going on, but it all really meshes together into one thing. But
yeah.
Demos is the one place where I do feel what you're saying in it being a little bit incomplete. Like, I think that was kind of an interesting idea, putting those guitars in and stuff, but I don't think it's executed super well, and I think that it feels really out of place on the album. That's the one point where I was taken out of it, because that's a very, like, human sound, I guess, and the rest of this feels very strange and alien to me. Yeah.
What was your opinion on Colors? I don't know if did we talk about Colors?
I don't think we did. That was the last song, and I think it just ties things together well. Plucky effects in the background are pretty cool, and when the primary melody of the song comes back in, I thought that was a really nice moment as well. It doesn't do anything for me specifically that the other songs don't do, but I think it was like a nice wrap-up moment.
I wrote down long as balls.
Oh, really? Is it a long song? I had no idea.
6 minutes and 42 seconds.
I don't know which ones the long songs are on here, honestly. I couldn't tell you the length of any track here. I just kind of sink into this one.
It's the longest song by quite a bit. The
Oh,
second
okay.
longest song is Demos.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I guess that makes sense because Demos would feel the longest to me. But yeah, this one, I just vibed with it.
Understandable.
Yeah.
This album makes me sleepy. Like, it's just like, it's one of those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not where it's like putting me to sleep because it's boring, but it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, right. Kind of relaxing. For sure.
Definitely something that you would like hear in like a dentist office when they have the TV doing like the trippy thing, but it's not really a dentist office. It's you're actually in space. And you're getting probed. You know what I mean? That's the vibe of the album.
Intergalactic dentist's office.
Yeah! That is the new genre tag I'm inventing right now.
That's fucking awesome. I love that visual. That's great. I do feel like this kind of exists there.
I wish I could draw. I would draw what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah?
And it would be weird.
You gotta pick up drawing just so we can see that visually.
I've tried.
Yeah, well, I mean, either way, I can kind of get the mental image.
Yeah, with like a box TV with like the when you're like Xbox 360, you put a CD in and it plays the fucking weird like wormhole sound wave.
That's awesome. That puts me in a...
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. I think the album cover also like helps me get there with that visual.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the album cover for this one because it does feel like it.
Looks like a topography map almost.
Yeah, I thought that too, but if it's a topography map, it's just kind of like a really deep hole. You know what I mean? Because it just like ascends downwards. Or I guess it could be a hill, but...
Yeah, whatever. The way I see it is we're looking into something for the album cover.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got. It's kind of like you're just staring down a black hole or something along that lines anyways.
I'm excited for more.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm going to maybe go back in gum.mp3's catalog a little bit and see what else there is to offer, but I am excited to just see the future for this artist as well.
What was your final score?
My final score ended up being a 78% on this one.
No fucking way.
Are you the same score?
Yes, it was so close to an 8.
Whoa, that's crazy. I felt like I liked it a lot more based on our descriptions.
I really like the ideas, and I want more.
Okay, yeah. No, I feel that.
If I liked the way it was executed, I would have given it an 80-something.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I guess I feel like it's kind of there, but it could kind of sort of improve. So I suppose we're pretty much on the same page then. Yeah, we're just vibing together with the same scores this time. That's awesome. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. What we got next up? Oh, god damn it.
Yeah, we got the Bleachers album next. Bleachers self-titled.
Trick in my sleep, you're just so good. I could believe that it's the time for holy. It's that 50s kind of shit that trickles down to the kids. So we try to give them peace, a chance, but didn't know what it is.
Oh my, this shit is kind of boring, bro. I feel like I was supposed to like this.
You weren't. This fucking sucks.
Yeah, dude. I always listen to like whatever project we're talking about, and I don't fucking want to. Please don't make me.
I'm never touching this again. Oh my god.
Oh god, can we move on?
No, I legitimately hate this album. It gets so far under my fucking skin. I don't love to be super brutally critical of things anymore. I do when the time comes, and the time is really coming here because I don't know, maybe in like an alternate dimension where this just hit a lot better, I could like it, but I hate almost everything here.
Oh, let me go back and fuck, I fucking hate that fucking saxophone in the second track, bro. It just pisses me off.
It's so corny. Yeah. Why is the second song like Indie the Boys Are Back in Town?
The indie boys are back in town.
The indie boys are back in town.
I'm hearing Mac DeMarco and American Spirits in the background.
Yeah, but like in a bad way. It's so
literally.
tacky.
Hear these tracks: Fright Night, Killer Queens, Hop a Train on this. Fuck you, bro. You've never even seen a train.
No, like that's the thing.
I'm standing up, bro. I'm mad.
That's the thing. It's so disingenuous. It's disingenuous. It's just like
I'm opening my window.
It feels like you're capturing an aesthetic here, but it's an aesthetic you know nothing about. And I have no idea Jack Antonoff's background whatsoever. Like, I don't know anything about him as a person, not even the brief beginnings of it. So I'm not judging it actually based on that. But it feels like he just doesn't know anything about this, like, small town, weird little rootsy aesthetic he's going for.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. The part he fucking just screams randomly, trying to be Mac DeMarco. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure which song would that be. Is that
The second one,
the second one?
Modern Girl.
Okay.
I'm going through and I'm listening to the highest rated tracks in album of the year while we're talking about it, just to see if I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Fuck everybody else.
No.
It's got a 76 and they're wrong.
Yeah.
Like this track does.
No, it's just not good. Like, the first song, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is going to be boring, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And then that second one played, and I'm like, oh, wait, is it going to be bad? And then it just kept going on and getting more and more bad as it went along. I would say the only exception, genuinely, is Call Me After Midnight. Like, that's a song that I could listen to again. Like, I don't think I'll be putting it on any playlists or anything, but it's a decent pop song, I guess. Like, it's fine. It's catchy, which is not something any of the rest of the album has.
I think by the time I got to it, I was just so angry.
I was very pissed off, but in a way where I was like uncomfortable, because the worst songs on here just get under my skin in a way nothing ever has. It's hard to describe, but I listened to Alma Mater, whichever it is. I listened to that song and something about it just like peeves me to no end. There are specific downsides on this album, like really bad low points, and that is one of them, to me at least, because it just does something. Like, the mixing on it is fucking awful. The pacing of it makes no sense. And there's nothing for me to like either. It's just like fucking sandpaper on my ears.
I'm pausing this,
like,
right?
That's all I can describe it as.
Around a minute 50, he has a fucking stroke while playing the guitar.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. None of the musicianship is legitimately impressive for the most part. And the mixing is terrible, which is so weird because he's literally a producer. Like, this guy is behind some of the biggest, like, mainstream kind of things that have this indie feel to it. Like, he produced Norman fucking Rockwell by Lana Del Rey. He produced St. Vincent's Daddy's Home. I mean, the list goes on, but anything that has this sort of aesthetic that's in any way in the mainstream, he's produced it. So why is this mixed like shit?
This album cover also pisses me off.
Right, just the aesthetic that he's going for. It's so campy, but like it doesn't accurately portray the vibe of it whatsoever. It's just like pulling that aesthetic with none of the actual guts of it.
Remember when I called you when I was in the shower when Feet of Clay dropped?
Yeah.
So I was so upset. I like this less.
Yeah. I've grown to like Feet of Clay in a way, so that definitely makes sense.
Me too.
Yeah.
But like in the moment, I like this less than Feet of Clay.
So now you know exactly how I was feeling with the Bill Ryder Jones album that we listened to in the first episode of this podcast. I have almost the exact same thoughts on this one as that one, except this one had a good song on it. That's like the difference for me.
All right.
It's just that it's so tacky and hitting in this like gross, like commercialized indie aesthetic that I don't know, man. It's just sticky. This one makes me feel like I need to take a shower.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna explode if we keep talking about this album. What was your overall score?
I don't think we need to. I think we've got to set our piece. 36% for me.
I gave it a 30.
Yeah, that's totally fair. If I'm being real, the reason I did give it a little bit higher is because I went back to check and see what my score was on that Bill Ryder Jones album, just because like I know this one is worse in the moment than it actually is. And I'm like, okay, well, that album had no good songs, and this one had one that I liked and a couple I was okay with. So it's a little bit better.
I want you to know that a fucking critic called DIY gave it a 100.
I mean, I'm sure this is total critic bait.
Pitchfork even gave it a 64. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I'm more in line with them. Like, I can understand it more. Like, this is gonna get a Grammy, probably.
Oh, fuck, that pissed me off.
It probably will happen. Like, that's the thing. This is one of those albums that's going to be very appealing to anybody who, like, tilts their nose up at anything fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's stop talking about this.
Okay.
Anyways, this next album isn't on Album of the Year, and that makes me upset because I couldn't add it because my account's too new.
I did add it. It's on there now.
Okay. Fucking love this album, dude.
Is Fall of Leviathan in Waves.
Leviathan.
Yeah. Fall of Leviathan in waves.
I was calling it Fall in
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Leviathan. I don't question album title names, brother.
That's fair. That's fair enough. You said you loved this one?
Shit was awesome, dude. Loved it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. My thoughts on it are complicated. It really grabbed my ears, I guess, just when I was scrolling through albums on Bandcamp, just because I'm like, oh, this is metal, but like, there's none of the verse-chorus pacing and there's no vocals introduced whatsoever. I just kind of tapped through it and I'm like, they got a interesting thing going on here. It kind of makes me rethink metal, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Fuck, I don't know where to begin, bro. This shit.
It's a lot to unpack in a way.
I'm like listening to it again as we're talking about it, and just the fucking like opener of Nantucket when it's just like giving you that slow like little crescendo, and it's introducing all the instruments that they're. I don't know if it's all instruments they use for the project, but just introducing the guitars and the bass that I could hear.
Yeah,
and it sounds good.
Right. No, that's awesome.
The mixing on this album I really enjoyed.
Me too. Yeah, it's very well mixed.
That was something I meant to mention on gum.mp3 is that despite the unfinishes of it, there was a lot of good mixing points on there. But anyways.
Yeah.
Oh god, the drums just came in on Nantucket. Oh my god, I'm creaming my pants, brother.
Yeah. No, those big riffs that it eventually builds up to, and this album is so good at building as well. I'll totally agree with you in that the way that they layer things up is super cool.
They're incredibly talented when it comes to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, I just fucked up the track. It's a shame this is only a 55-minute album.
Is that genuinely how you feel?
Yes, I want more.
I could take more. Like, this is really good for what it attempts, but I don't know what to use this album for, if that makes any kind of sense. It's not really a good background listen because it's got so much back and forth between loud and quiet, but it's also not a super rewarding close listen because it really drones on the same ideas for a long time. But I guess there's a lot of music that you can already say these things about, and you are a really big Godspeed fan, and it reminded me of Godspeed.
I was literally going to mention Godspeed.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I feel a little bit similarly, but Godspeed, like, demands my attention a smidgen more, and Godspeed feels like a little bit more dynamic, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is for driving at night when you're feeling wrong.
Oh, that is a setting you could put it in. Yeah.
I was fucking listening to this, like, a little bit last night even, and I was just like,
Yeah. I'm glad it's hitting for you.
I can't even like point out specific points in the tracks because I was just like, I kept running down, fuck yeah.
Yeah, they do a very good job of cutting back into something quiet and then building back up to something super loud. And it's always really cool when the loud moments hit, but it does get a little exhausting to me. Does that make any sense?
No.
You don't think so?
I liked it way too much.
I thought the back and forth got a little bit repetitive to me by the end.
It's like waves.
No, I was going to say that, though. It is really cool in the way that it ties into the nautical theme going on here. Like, this album really does feel like this whole Lost at Sea thing they've got going on with the aesthetics of it and those spoken samples.
For whatever reason we ever get lost at sea, I'm just going to play this album on my phone until one of you guys kill me.
It's very cinematic. And I think if you're like making a film where somebody was out at night and the waves are really treacherous and maybe the fucking kraken rises out of the water, that's the images I have in my head, is giant sea creatures and storms at sea at night. That's what I got going on.
I get like a cosmic horror video game where like Cthulhu comes out of the fucking ocean or some shit. And you gotta like deal with that.
Yeah, right. Those crazy sea cryptids are happening here.
Dude, this is gonna be some shit that gets played at like a basement party when everyone's like really fucking hammered.
That would be chaos. I don't think anybody would know what to do with that.
I feel like it would just destroy everybody. Which is cool.
No, like, It does kind of remind me a little bit of just any of the drone metal albums I've heard in the past, whether that be for good or bad reasons, just in that those riffs are so fucking huge and you can kind of sink into this quite well.
Yeah, what genre tags does this even get?
I think it's just ambient metal.
Okay.
That's what I would call it anyways.
Alright.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty simple project in its actual essence overall.
Is there any other albums by this band?
No, this is their debut, which is kind of crazy because of how much talent they're showing musically.
Oh shit. I'm excited for the things they're gonna do with this.
Oh, definitely. Like, they could go a lot of places. The way I wrote it down is that I could see them doing something that's a little bit more rich in concept in the future, that has a little bit more dynamics, and I would end up liking that project a bit more. But I could also see them moving to like soundtracking things. If you hired these guys to soundtrack a movie, that'd be fucking awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. They've got something here. They are very clearly great with their instruments. I'll absolutely say that much.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Did you have a specific favorite track?
I didn't have a specific favorite. I am like really quickly like skimming through trying to see if I would pick one.
I went with Sperm Whale personally because it kind of sinks into its own little vibe and doesn't go a lot of places with it, but it just sounds really cool all the way throughout.
Yeah, I'll give it to Sperm Whale because it's also like the most digestible out of the tracks. Like this is the track I would show somebody.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely is the one that you'd go to first. Personally, as far as a least favorite goes, I went with Pacific being the longest song. I feel like other tracks did what it did with smaller runtime. This doesn't strike me as it needs to be 13 minutes.
I completely understand where you're coming from, but I want more.
Okay.
I want every track to be 13 minutes.
That's totally fair.
I didn't have a least favorite track because I just like this album so much.
That makes sense. Yeah, if you really dig the vibe of it that much, then I can totally see why you wouldn't. They're pretty samey throughout, so like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm super excited to see where this band goes. What was your overall score?
I gave this a 73.
I gave it an 83.
83. Nice. Wow. I wasn't sure if you were going to find this boring or you were going to love it, so I guess I'm glad you're on that side of the spectrum, because I do think these guys are extremely impressive.
This would definitely be polarizing to me in one way or the other.
Yeah, right. Like, it could have went either way with you, so I'm glad that's what we ended up with. But I guess that's our last one for the day then.
A little bit of a shorter episode this week because less to talk about.
Yeah, I think that there wasn't a ton to digest in most of these albums. They're pretty straightforward and forthcoming with what they are, and if you listen to a little bit of them, you just kind of get the vibe. Yeah. You know what you're expecting for most of these albums that we talked about today, whether that be a good or bad thing.
Yes, sir.
So then, wrapping back around to our final portion here, talking about this week's rankings, we actually have a tie for the first time.
Whoa.
Yeah, but we'll talk about the lower ones first. Fifth place by a lot, Bleachers self-titled.
No way.
A contender for my least favorite album we've talked about on here.
The only reason it's not for me is because I gave Green Day a 2.
Oh, I forgot you hated Green Day. The only thing that's actually lower, the Bill Ryder Jones one and Slut Pop Miami.
Oh, and Slut Pop Miami.
Yeah, but the thing is, I find ironic enjoyment in Slut Pop Miami. Both of the other two albums I just mentioned are just the way they are because they're boring. So that's that, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I forget Slut Pop Miami exists all the time.
It's easy to forget that it does. Yeah. Our fourth place for the week ended up being Ariana Grande's Eternal Sunshine at a 68% average. Solid new pop record that's just about what you would expect, I suppose. Yeah. And our third place for the week ends up being Judas Priest's Invincible Shield. Not really a unexpected album in any way. It's pretty much giving you what you want, which is awesome. And it's not third place by much, because our tie for number one this week is gum.mp3's Black Life, Red Planet, as well as Fall of Leviathans in Waves. Both of the underground cuts really thrived this week, and I think both of them are absolutely worth checking out.
Yeah, please listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of these are pretty exciting artists, in my opinion. Think they'll do great things.
Please don't listen to Bleachers.
No, there's no good reason to. Like, genuinely, No. I do want to say, just a silver lining with that album, I am not dissing Jack Antonoff as a producer in general. I'm not trying to knock him. I'm not trying to say anything super bad about the guy and his music. I just think that the solo music here fucking sucks.
This album. I haven't heard anything else by him, so just this album.
Just this album, and honestly, the previous Bleachers stuff that I've heard has not been very exciting either. But I'm still excited to hear him produce albums in the future. Like, his production style, I think, is still cool. So I will say that much, just as kind of a last little note there, just to end on some positivity. But I think that's all we have for this week. Do you have any closing words for the people at home, Micah?
Well, the cops are outside, so I'll not see you all next week.
Well, that's pretty wholesome. So we'll get on going. See y'all next week. In Audacity, 5, 4, 3,
4,
2,
3,
1.
2, 1. Clapping noise. There it goes.
That caught me so off guard.